Dr. Barbara Becker Holstein, positive psychologist, author, and filmmaker, along with her colleague, Debbie Storz Higgins, film critic, director, and producer, have designed a treat for you. Want to be uplifted? Taken back to happy and pleasant memories from a saner time? Then sit back, relax, and listen to Dr. Barbara and Debbie as they explore from their past everything fit to print that is funny, uplifting, and even miraculous.
I'm Dr. Barbara Becker Holstein, and I am back with my colleague, Debbie Storz. I wrote it right this time, Debbie.
Right, I know.
And we are here to invite you to Old Time Radio. This is our show, it's Old Time Radio, and we go back in the past, we go into adventures, we go into parts of our lives that are fit to print, we go into humor and scariness, and this is Halloween month, so you might be a little scared up your spine when we get going with a couple of stories. And we never run out of anything to talk about. So some of you may have seen our last show where we actually finally had something absolutely hysterical happen. And we got such a kick out of it. Where is your cat tonight?
I don't know where she is, but she's been in here a lot because the chair in here that I just recovered is filled with cat hair. So
okay.
I think she's sleeping on my bed in the other room.
Okay.
Maybe she's scared because we're doing a Halloween show.
Yes, she may be scared.
Right, she's
and yes, and we had such a laugh. I cleared out all my internal organs with that laugh when the cat's tail was doing a dance that
it was like duck shoot. I call it duck shoot, an old duck shoot.
And it was hilarious. And she had probably a more important message to serve than we had. So
well, I'm going to try to just muddle through because I usually have my White Russian here to drink for our show, but I forgot to bring it upstairs. Today's my birthday, and we just went out, and I can give a plug to Cousin's Restaurant in Manalapan, or Marlboro, which is probably the best seafood restaurant I've ever eaten in, except for Livorno down in New York, which is phenomenal. But I don't have my drink because we ate so much that I came up and I forgot my drink. So there we go.
All right.
Off to the show.
We had several themes that we thought about talking about, and one of them is tied into fairy tales and books we've read and how they influence us and what they have meant to us. And I could just say that for me, I loved fairy tales. And unfortunately, I think in terms of really being a woman in our culture, they didn't always have the best effect because I believed a lot of the stuff when I was little. I believed, like a lot of my friends, I think, believed that we were going to be swept away by an extremely handsome fellow that was going to find us. And we almost felt like he really would come in and on a white, beautiful horse. And I don't know, I mean, it was all mixed up with the images of the fairy tales, or we'd be, someone would kiss us and our world would change. Now, I think in reality, we knew our lives were going to be more like we saw in our real world. We knew we weren't going to live in a castle. But I think the negative part was that we over-expected what others would offer us in life. And when you marry someone or have a relationship with someone, it's hard work. And you have to learn how to adapt, Well, that never really happened in the fairy tales. So I think it's something that, well, it's part of our culture, and I enjoyed them as children, so be it. And I discovered that we're all human as I grew up, and I knew when I met my husband, well, I had this, okay, talk about psychic things. When I met my husband, it was a fix-up. And he walked into the apartment I lived with my two girlfriends. We were going for our masters at Boston University. And in my head, I've told this a million times, but I think it's interesting, a little bit psychic. A voice in my head said, "You're not going to believe this, but you will marry him someday." And I did. And I don't know where that voice came from, but it's possible that my unconscious was sizing up, something. Yeah, I think you can pick up a lot of subtleties from people that you really don't know how to put into words. Or maybe I was slightly desperate because I had turned 22. Maybe that was part of it. And I was, what was in my head was that we were supposed to get married around that age.
What do you want me to talk about right now? How I felt about fairy tales, or books or films that influenced me? Pick a subject.
Well, I wanted you to reveal something since I just revealed something.
Well, I believed in fairies because I had a grandmother who was very magical, and the woods behind her house were, it was an amazing forest. And she knew every plant and everything, and she would tell us about fairy rings. And if people don't know, in Ireland, a fairy ring is like a ring of rocks or a ring around the trees that at night the fairies come out and they do a dance at night when no one can see them. And kind of like the fairies in Walt Disney's Fantasia. And we truly believed that 100%. But when it came to men, more than fairy tales, I was influenced by the movies that I saw as a kid. Now, the movies were all in theaters in the 30s and 40s, but when TV started, it needed product. So all those movies were on TV all the time during the day. Cary Grant, Tyrone Power, these gorgeous guys, Randolph Scott, Alan Ladd, Gary Cooper, and they were always bad boys. But at the end, the girl had all this tussling with them, but at the end, it was like this giant love affair that just was unsurmountable, or it could be surmounted, I guess. I don't even know if I'm using the proper grammar. But I believe that's what life was like. And in a way, it was like that in my marriage. I mean, I met my husband, and he was kind of a bad boy, and he became the best husband in the world. But I had always believed in that giant, sweeping, every woman in the world wanted him, and he was bad, but you could tame him because his love was just unbridled. And that was my thinking. And to segue into books, I love D.H. Lawrence. And I read Satterley's Lover and Sons and Lovers. And I read all those, I guess, kind of bodice ripping, but great literature also. They weren't like these supermarket paperbacks. They were great literature. So that influenced me a lot. That was
well, you're making me think of a lot of other influences. And I was very influenced by certain songs. And one of them was Kismet, the play Kismet, and the music that went with it. Oh, I forgot before that, I want to mention that when I was little, somewhere between about 7 and 9, I had a song in my head that was very, very uplifting to me. And it had no words, but it had that kind of sweep that is almost sexual. You know how certain music takes you to certain erotic levels somehow. And I remember saying to my mother, we were in Washington, D.C. on a vacation, whether singing the song to her. Well, I tried. Of course, it came out totally muddled because there were no words and I was just trying to get the melody out. At that point, maybe I was 9-ish, and then the song disappeared. It left. And I always wondered whether I was just a very peculiar child, but I did have one little girl in my practice who said this, she had a song and then it left when she was 10 or 11. So that's as far as the information on that. But when I heard Kismet, it got me very stirred up in ways I didn't really understand. And it's something about the notes going from low to high, and I still don't fully understand what combination of notes, but believe me, there is some. So after Kismet, maybe I was a little bit older, 12, 13, I was insanely in love with Unchained Melody.
Oh.
I would play it over and over and over on the record player. And then I would lie on the couch in the living room.
Swooning.
You know, it's like this sense of mystery and depth of connection between people that had been withheld from me in my whole childhood. It's like there was going to be something behind this curtain that was going to finally open up, you know, and I was I have to say, I was mad for it. I wanted to enter this other stage that I didn't really understand, although my girlfriends and I spent a whole year talking about what we thought was everything about being a grown-up. And when we weren't calling and ordering pizzas for families we didn't know to be delivered to their homes, you know,
yeah, that's
really on that line of childhood and early teenagehood. What I would do, I tried to smoke. You know, smoking was very common, much more common than today.
Right.
And I would go into my bedroom and lock the door, and I'd have a cigarette with me, sit on the bed, thinking about, again, these illusions of getting older and so on. And I'd take 1 or 2 puffs and I'd have just a very good choking cough and I'd put it out, you know. But
so for 2 seconds, you were Greta Garbo.
Yes, yes. And then I had some sort of book under the bed.
Uh-oh.
I don't remember what it was. It could have been, well, it was something I wasn't supposed to have under the bed. And we had a cleaning man at that time once in a while. And one day I came home and I went into my bedroom and the book was on top of the mattress.
Uh-oh.
You know, he had obviously turned over the mattress and left it, I don't think cruelly, just he thought he found it and maybe I had forgotten it was under there.
Do you remember what the book was, or can't you say it? I had a book like that too.
Yeah, I'm not sure because it was something, you know, what I shouldn't have had it. I don't know whether one of my girlfriends lent it to me or whatever, but.
Well, I had the story of O.
Yes.
O. That was a big sensational book.
Yes.
Another one called Poor Cow. And I've just been cleaning out our family home and I found my book, Poor Cow, so I'm going to reread it. And the last time I read it was in about 6th grade, and we were all a titter after reading that. It was passed around 6th grade, so, you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, really, you know, that was, of course, you know, is another thing that kind of segues into young adulthood, that we used to sit on the sink in grammar school and stuff our little training bras with toilet paper so that we looked like Dolly Parton, you know, and that was in school. And that was fun until we sat on the sink and it fell off the wall and the nuns went crazy. They went bananas. But they really didn't know what we were doing. They just knew we were sitting on a sink. But
so I think about it, there were so many streams that really influenced me, one of them being fairy tales, one of them being music, and of course the movies.
right.
And the movies made me feel that absolutely romantic love was it. You know, that's what happened. You had romantic love, and anything else was, you didn't quite get there. Something like that. Again, I don't really think any of these things clearly prepared me for growing up. They're just the atmosphere. The atmosphere was created. And if my parents, particularly my dad, had not been extremely concerned that women were being cheated out of opportunities, that was really one of his streams of life work, I'm not sure that I would have moved ahead in my career. I might have been a teacher. I don't think I ever would have moved to be a psychologist. I don't think I ever would have had the courage to be a filmmaker and do all sorts of other things. But his attitude was so insistent that women needed to have careers, go for what they love to do, not depend just on their husbands. And I would say he would even say it was okay if you didn't marry. Although that was part of the culture.
So I guess that's it, Barb.
All right.
So always look on Facebook on our pages, because we will announce when we have a show. And, as I said, if anybody can give us topics or ideas, we talk about the past, our past, the past of our area, the past of our nation. Interesting stuff.
It is.
Good night, everybody.
Good
What do you think,
night.
Barb? That's our sign off. Right?
Well, good night.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us. More information about Dr. Barbara Becker Holstein, including her award-winning selfie films, The Truth for Girls, books, films, downloads, stage play, podcasts, and TED-style talks, including a library of information for women of all ages, is available at enchantedself.com. That's enchantedself.com.